Welcome to Turning the Page, a Lexington Public Library podcast. I'm Mariam.
And I'm Erin West. If you love the library because of books, the programs, and the people behind both, then this is the podcast for you.
And even if you don't, there's still fun to be had. We will bring you the latest book releases that are worth checking out, figuratively and literally.
And we will discuss all of the happenings at the library to look out for.
And of course, what would a library podcast be without a special guest? We will get to know some special authors that are making an impact on our local literary scene.
Whether you're listening to us in your car while washing dishes or snuggled up with a warm drink, we are grateful for your time and hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to Turning the Page, the podcast that delves into the stories behind the storytellers. Today, we are thrilled to have a guest who knows a thing or two about delving into stories and secrets, especially the ones hiding in plain sight right here in the Bluegrass State. Fiona Young Brown is a British-born author, food historian, and cultural explorer who now calls Lexington, Kentucky home. With a background in education and a passion for the peculiar, Fiona has written extensively on everything from Kentucky cuisine to women's history. But today, we're cracking open her fascinating book, Secret Lexington, a guide to the weird, wonderful, and obscure, a treasure map of the city's most curious landmarks, forgotten tales, and offbeat characters. Whether you're a lifelong Lexingtonian or just passing through, Fiona's work will make you see the city in a whole new light. So buckle up for a journey through haunted hotels, hidden gardens, and stories that refuse to stay buried. So welcome, Fiona, to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Congratulations on the release of your latest book, Secret Lexington. So for someone that's been living in Lexington for quite some time, how long have you been living in Lexington?
I have to remember this because next year it will be 25 years on my wedding anniversary.
Amazing.
So I moved here when I got married.
Amazing. What inspired you to write that book, Secret Lexington? Was there like a particular moment or particular research project that you were working on that kind of navigated you to this book?
Well, it's weird because I'd written about 3 books about Lexington and Kentucky history, and the last one of those was 10 or 11 years ago now.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And at the time after that, I thought about doing another one and just kind of felt, okay, Lexington, that's nice, but I want to do something else, and so moved away. And then the Reedy Press, who did this, approached me about a year ago now and said, we have this series, Secret, they have Secret Syracuse, Secret New Orleans, and so on. Would you be interested in doing one about Lexington? And it had been a while since I'd done any sort of Lexington research, so I thought, okay, that could be fun to get back into again. And then I had a couple of things. I was trying to think, okay, but if I said yes to this, what secrets would I even write about? And I looked at the ones for other cities. And they were a lot of the ones that I looked at were for much bigger cities, Chicago, which has tons and tons of options. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, can I find 84 secrets about Lexington? Now, of course, I keep thinking of other things.
84, right?
Exactly. I was told it had to be 84. And then I started to think, and I'd recently moved to the other side of Lexington. And the first thing that came into my head was the pig around the corner from me. There's a pig. Why is there a pig in Lexington? And the pig's actually on the cover of the book now. And so I thought, okay. And then I kept hearing, ever since I'd moved here, I'd heard about something that everyone called the Witches' Cemetery. And I was like, wait, where is that? Why is it called that? And so then it started to grow. And I thought, okay, this could be something fun to do.
Now I'm curious, where is this pig?
Everyone keeps asking that now. I'm glad that I'm giving the pig a new, sense of fame. The pig is over in the Gardenside Shopping Center on Alexandria.
Yeah.
And it is called Hemingway because he is the Ernest Hemingway of the pig world. He's reading a whole bunch of books that all have nice pig-themed titles of Mice and Ham, The Swine Also Rises, and so on.
Oh, that's incredible.
And
love the pun.
He's just kind of hidden away in a little doorway. And honestly, he needs a bit more paint now. He could do. And I realized when I started looking into him, Lexington always has the Horse Mania exhibits. And apparently back in 2000, I think it was, Cincinnati had the Big Pig gig, which was the same
wow.
kind of thing, but they had their pig statues. And so the staff at Joseph Beth up there sponsored Hemingway the pig.
Oh, okay.
And so now every time I walk my dogs past, I look at him.
Well, thank you, Joseph Beth. We love the good people at Joseph Beth. So how did you go about researching this particular, like, I know it's like weird and wonderful things about Lexington, but what constitutes weird and wonderful? There's a lot about Lexington that people can be weird and wonderful.
That's it. And I realized that one person's idea of weird is someone else's it's
Like, so
completely
what?
normal, wonderful, obscure. I mean, that was the other thing. What would I consider secret? And secret to who? Because some things I'm sure are in the book and people who've lived here their whole lives say, yeah, that's not secret. Everyone knows. Yeah. But then hopefully there'll be a few things that maybe they didn't know. And then for people coming into town who always get told about the same few things that they have to go to see, Keeneland and so on, that hopefully there's some things in there. But yeah, I was trying to think and I decided I didn't want anything too dark.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be
fun.
For the most part, a fun book. There are a few more serious entries in there, but it needs to be something kind of fun and entertaining. Mm-hmm.
Something to draw especially newcomers to Lexington.
Exactly.
Kind of thing,
and something that they'll open a page and think, okay, I didn't know that was there. Maybe I'll just drive by and see that. Yeah. So something to show them that there's a little bit more to Lexington than they may have realized.
Yeah. So for someone that is new to Lexington, what's one of the, let's say, off the beaten paths places you'd recommend that they visit first? That's not necessarily Keeneland or...
This is another one of those hard questions because kind of, one person's off the beaten path. I think if it were outdoors, if they're looking for something outdoors, I'd say go to Raven Run or McConnell Springs even, which... For all the times I've lived, for as long as I've lived here, I hadn't been to McConnell Springs until about 5 years ago during the pandemic. And because it had always struck me as how could there be this little park down there?
Down there in the industry,
the industrial
Honestly,
area.
like the first time I went to McConnell Springs was with one of my kids' field trips. And I've always known that it was there, but I never, decided to go there really. But it is amazing. Like you're driving through this like industrial part of the neighborhood, and then it's such a.
There's nothing out here. This isn't.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and so many little points of interest within that little park. So I'd say for outdoors, something like that. Other places, actually, one of the places in the book, the Tortilleria and Taqueria Ramirez. I think it's so easy if you come into Lexington or any city, you head to downtown and you go to the restaurants down there, or you stick to the chain restaurants at the malls and so on. But I really encourage people to go and find some of the smaller little Hispanic restaurants and so on.
Love that area in the Village Drive area.
Exactly. Yeah. Love it.
That's an amazing restaurant for tacos.
And
really
the funny
good.
thing was, that was actually suggested to me by a friend who lives in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
Who's never been there. He's never been to Lexington, but just sent me a random message years ago saying, have you been to this place? Someone I know online was talking about it and said they make the best tacos. You have to go and tell me what it's like.
Yeah. I noted that they've gotten a nod on social media, a few places, but it's well-deserved. So how do you think that Lexington's identity is shaped by these lesser-known stories, like the lesser-known people, the owners of Taqueria Ramirez, or going far back as McConnell Springs and the history behind that area?
Well, I think, as with any place, areas or towns or places get known for a few key facts. In Lexington's case, and before I came here, horse racing, basketball. And so those things can tend to overshadow everything else to the point where I think people come here and think, well, that's all there is to do, or that's all there is to see. There's nothing else. And I think those things are great for bringing people here, but I also think there's so much more under the surface once you start scratching. And that was the nice thing about doing this book, the number of places I'd suddenly look at that I'd taken for granted. You drive by every day or just think, whatever, that's there. But then suddenly you start knowing the stories underneath them. And so you get kind of a whole new appreciation of the town, the community, you realize how all of those stories sort of play into something bigger. And I think especially this year, since it's Lexington's 250th birthday, you realize that all of those things are part of that history and part of that story.
City. Yeah, that's amazing. Have you noticed an increase in people's interest in local history, especially with local residents that have been here for a while, that kind of waking up to local history?
Yeah, I think there is. And I think it kind of goes back to that wanting to find a little bit more. I think some of it, honestly, may even date back to the pandemic because we couldn't travel as far afield. So
Yes.
I know myself and my husband, every Sunday, it was like, we've got to do something. Where can we go? And so we just get into the car and just take
Drive
odd little
around.
roads in Fayette
Yeah.
County that we hadn't been down before and then see where it led.
Yeah.
And so I think there was that sudden interest in, okay, if we can't travel further afield, what is there around here that maybe we haven't encountered before or paid attention to before? And the other thing I love about doing these kind of books is when I go to speak to groups and afterwards people come up and they're like, this is great. Did you know the story about this? Or did you know how this is linked to this? And suddenly you come away with a whole bunch of extra stories that you didn't know, but that enrich it even more.
That's awesome. So you said before that you kind of took a break from researching Lexington and you wrote about other issues, things, food and other issues. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about your other writing and how do you approach each subject from a writer's?
Well, after I left Lexington history behind, I wrote for Kentucky Monthly for a while. And then I spent the next 10 years or so focusing on a bunch of different topics. I wrote for different health sites and health magazines. I wrote a lot for a private aviation site. I now know much more about private planes than I ever thought I would.
Wow.
And I wrote a lot of nonfiction educational children's books for a publisher. And those were great because I could just immerse myself in one subject for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Right? You know, Eleanor Roosevelt, okay, that's what I'm doing for a few months. Or Edward Snowden, nuclear science, and so on. And I loved those because they sort of relate to my way of writing, which is I love learning. And I think that's how I got into writing. I could easily go back to school if money were no object and just take every class, every possible subject that I could, just because I enjoy that kind of being able to really throw myself into a topic for a while. When it comes to the actual writing process, I'm a big procrastinator.
That's actually kind of comforting to know because I know a lot of writers that suffer from the same issue.
Huge procrastinator. Yes. But I always tell there's always this idea of if you're not writing, what are you doing? Or you're just wasting time. But I think it's the opposite. Yeah. It's all churning over in my head, different ideas. I'll have tons of notebooks where I'm writing down, okay, it's going to be done this way. And then I'll take out another notebook. No, it's going to be this way instead. I tend to think that it's kind of churning over in my head. And I always have, my husband always jokes at me because whenever it gets to about a month before a deadline for a book, I'm suddenly
in a panic.
I had this all planned out. I go into the project with this idea that, okay, I will have this chapter written by then and this chapter, and then it gets pushed and pushed and pushed. And so the last month or so, I'm suddenly writing frantically. But I also think there's sort of a method to that, which is that by the time I then write it, it's been worked over in my head so many times. And I know that each book I've done, if I had written it with my nice sort of planned schedule,
the outline,
then it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been as rich as it was to me in the end. I'd have gone back and rewritten those over and over. So procrastination is okay. And I'm going to keep telling myself that.
It's all in the methodology.
There you go.
Yeah.
As long as it's all working over in your head, it's
there
still
you go.
working.
There you go. I saw that one of the books that you actually wrote was about the Premier League club, Chelsea FC. Are you a fan? Because I am. As you can see, I had to bring that into
I'm actually not. They had contacted me. They were doing a series, and I had originally actually asked my whole family, apparently, which I had no idea, and you will appreciate this since you're into Chelsea. Apparently, my whole family are Arsenal fans.
Oh, wow.
Which I had no idea about until I was doing this book. I'd never seen them that interested in football before. And suddenly they all started, you can't write about Chelsea.
Oh my
We're
goodness.
an Arsenal family. And I said, since
Really?
when?
We are?
We are. We've never watched. And they said, well, your grandfather was an Arsenal fan. And again, he was? Where was this? And so suddenly now my family are apparently all Arsenal fans. I had no idea. I'm still not entirely convinced of that. But no, I'm not a Chelsea fan, although I really enjoyed writing about them. Yeah.
You should be. If
Okay, I will
get a little London Derby going in here.
I will work on that.
Getting in the family. So you are originally from the UK.
Yes.
What drew you to Kentucky, and what kind of anchored you here?
My husband, he is from Kentucky, and my undergrad degree was in American Studies, which always makes people nervous because I think they figure I'm taking a notebook out and just writing notes about, this must be very American.
Yeah.
They have said this and so on. But so it meant that my undergrad had an exchange year, and I went to Iowa for that because I decided Iowa would have snow, and so that would be a fun place. And it was the coldest winter on record, so I'm not so sure about the snow anymore. But after graduating, I wanted to go to grad school, and I knew I wanted to come over here to go to grad school, but I also wasn't ready to go straight away. And so I went to Japan on the JET, the Japanese English Teaching Program. And my husband had just graduated from UK and was on the same program. We were both in a very rural part of Japan. You know, there was one of us in each town. And so at the weekends, we'd all get together.
Oh, wow.
Just to meet other English speakers and have that frame of reference. And so we kept in touch through grad school, and now I've been here in Kentucky for nearly 25 years.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing stories of people that have, newly moved to Kentucky, because everybody's story is just fascinating to me. Well, I mean, it's like, there's something about Kentucky that may not be an intentional move, but there's something about it that anchors you and kind of keeps you here.
And it's one of those places, if you say to people in England that you've moved to America, they have certain places in mind.
Yeah.
New York, Chicago, Florida, and so on. And then when you just meet people here, and like, why did you come to Kentucky? And there's this sort of, I don't know, maybe it's a sort of self-effacing sort of, why would you come here?
Why not?
I love Lexington. It's a beautiful town, and I love the countryside around.
It is, yeah. I think it's got a nice blend of big city vibes, but also that little town feel.
Exactly.
So
for me, it's just the right size.
Exactly.
In terms of it has everything that you need, and it's close enough to other places, but it's also, you don't feel lost in it.
Yeah.
And it's surprising what a small community it is.
Yes.
The number of times you can meet someone and you can be chatting with them and then suddenly realize they know all of your other friends.
Yeah,
and so
there is a connection
everyone
there.
knows everyone.
Yeah, it's amazing. So what other projects or books are you working on that you can share with us?
Well, going back to the procrastination. I've been trying my hand at fiction because I've always admired fiction writers because they seem to have it all together. They just write this incredible stuff. I have 2 first drafts that I'm working through edits on. They may never see the light of day, or they may do. But one of those, going back to procrastination, took me about 20 years to write a first draft. So it may see the light of day when I'm, 80 at this rate. But I've kind of been drawn back into Lexington history again. And so at the moment, I'm just working on some ideas, but I'm working on some ideas for something getting a lot more deeply immersed into part of Lexington's history.
Yeah, it could be like a historical fiction maybe, or?
This one I think is going to be nonfiction. But there may be a few fictional aspects because I think it's going to be looking into the lives of people that we don't have a lot of detail about. So I think there may have to be some cross.
How have you found the writing scene here in Lexington as a support system or lack thereof? Or I just, meeting different authors, there is such a tight connection. Have you found that support system helpful here in Lexington?
I haven't. I'm actually I'm the treasurer of the Lexington Writers' Room downtown. So, yep, they're great. No, I've always, when I first moved here, because writing is very solitary.
Yes, very isolating can be.
And so when I first moved here, the first few years I was actually teaching at UK, and then I moved into writing. And that's when I realized how solitary it is, and especially when you move here, a lot of people, the first questions you asked is, where do your children go to school? And I didn't have any children. Where does your husband work? And where do you work? And so on. And so when you're working on your own, you really don't have any of those kind of outreach parts of the community. So I started taking classes and joining a few groups at the Carnegie Center. Yeah. And I think it can still feel a little intimidating at times, because going back to that, you mean the Silas House and all of these big names, and you sort of feel as if there's this community out there, but they all know what they're doing. They're all proper writers. They know what they're doing and so on. But there are some wonderful programs through the Carnegie. Even if you don't want to do classes, just knowing that those events were on or seeing the different events around town was and it was interesting to me that it was very supportive. And also just a huge, broad base. There are poets, there are nonfiction, there are hugely professional writers, there are ones who are just doing it out for fun or starting out and so on. And then when the Writers' Room opened right before the pandemic, just before the pandemic, to the point of we're open, no, we're closing. That, again, at first for me, it was just a space to go and write. A break from sitting at home and writing, but coffee shops, I always get too distracted by all the conversations around me. The library's great, but at the same time, I tend to have the same thing. I end up watching everyone that's coming and going and wondering what they're doing.
Wondering about their story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so the Writers' Room at the time was a great place where I could just go in and still not really see anyone or talk to anyone, but there might be a few other people passing through. Yeah. And then the space grew and the community grew as well. And it's great to have that support, to know that if you have questions about a book or a project, that you have someone to ask, and if they don't know the answer, chances are they'll know another writer or historian or someone in town who can help you. And so again, that kind of interconnected community in Lexington.
What do you hope that readers kind of get out of your book, your most recent one, Secret Lexington?
I would say a couple of things. One, that there's always more to your surroundings than you realize. There were some places in here, like I said, that I used to drive past and just not bother about. But then once I started doing this, I found that everywhere I was driving, I was thinking, I wonder if there's more to that, or what is that building? What is going on behind there? So I think no matter how much we take things for granted or a place for granted, there's always something more to uncover. And the other thing is, and this sounds kind of cliche, I think, at some places, but sometimes learning more about something can help you understand it and appreciate it more. There were a couple of buildings and a mural in there that when I first thought about doing them, I was like, no, I don't like that. I've driven past that house and it's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't like it. But then when I started reading about it, it was like, wow, there's a really cool story behind this. It's just unusual. It's different, but it's not horrible, or and now I've got this real appreciation for them, and I think it's just because I read about them, learned their stories, and that sounds like a great sort of metaphor for life, the rest of life.
Exactly. Well, on that message, we will end our podcast here with you. And here's to hoping our listeners continue to explore and delve a little deeper into their surroundings. So thank you for reminding us of that. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, listeners. You've been listening to Fiona Young Brown, the author of Secret Lexington, a guide to the weird, wonderful, and obscure. Well, that was a great chat with Fiona. I really appreciated her coming on.
It was wonderful.
She seems like one of those authors that's like working on multiple projects all at once. So I appreciate her taking the time to talk with us.
And I want to look at her book. I want to go find the pig. I want to go look and find the pig.
In all honesty, when she was talking about it,
Yeah.
I remembered seeing it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I know exactly where this pig is, actually. But again, it's like one of those things you just pass by and like, oh, look, there's a pig on the corner. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's like the camel statue downtown where you're just like, oh, a camel. Okay. You just keep driving.
Oh, goodness. All right. Let's talk about books.
Yes.
All right. What's coming out soon? I'm actually in a reading funk, to be honest with you. I just finished listening to Silas's House book, Dead Man Blues, which is really good.
Oh, good.
It was a good listen. I love that book. It's one of my favorites this year. So far, at least. But I was looking through some of my lists that I order for the library, and this month seems to be the month of memoirs. So there's several memoirs that are coming out. Margaret Atwood has one that's coming out that looks pretty interesting. Anthony Hopkins, We Did Okay, Kid. Yeah. That's the title of his memoir.
I love that.
We Did Okay, Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one looks interesting. And then Cynthia Erivo also has one coming out soon. So that should pique the interest of Wicked fans. So be on the lookout for those. They should be ready for you to put on hold in our catalog soon, if not already. Some fiction titles caught my eye is if you are a fan of the series We Were Liars, the third book in that series is coming out. It's called We Fell Apart. And it's, of course, a series by E. Lockhart. So I know that one is going to be a big one. There's another one, Kate Quinn. If you're a fan of Kate Quinn, she's got one called The Bridesmaid coming out. And that is a thriller, I believe. So that one looks very interesting. So, yeah. So those are the books that I'm looking forward to seeing. There's others coming out, your blockbuster titles by blockbuster authors like Janet Ivanovich. She's got one called King's Ransom that's coming out. Lee Child and Andrew Child is coming up. It's another Reacher installment.
Oh, nice. Yeah, just in time for the new season of the show as well.
Yeah. So Exit Strategy is coming out. Again, be on the lookout in the catalog to put those on hold and check out. That's all I have for books coming out.
That is a good list. Mm-hmm. So for programs, we actually have some really cool stuff. We have a lot more stuff that I'm going to talk about going on. So please check our calendar.
Yes, always check out the events calendar on our website because sometimes those locations change or the times change. So
yes, Picture Book Month is the month of November, and Central Library is having a celebration for the first 2 weeks. They are going to be voting on your favorite book character. So there are 4 choices, and you can go so you can learn about picture books and learn about how our election system works. So it's a pretty cool way to get two lessons at the same time.
Love picture books.
Yes. Beaumont is having a stuffed pet show, kind of keeping with the children's theme. It is Friday, November 7th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you just can bring your favorite stuffy and show them off. You can create crafts for them and then walk through the judge's ring and agility course.
Nice.
So, and it says here that everyone wins a ribbon. So it's for ages 2 and up. So have a fun time with your little ones. The next one is how to make a music video at Northside. And it's a look behind the lens of what editing goes into, how you set up a shoot. So it's by videographer Archie Moore, and he helped Tony Wavy, who's a local hip-hop artist who also works here at the Northside branch in the digital studio. So they're going to team up and show how they manage the process from beginning to end.
That's
so it'll
awesome.
Be really
We've
informative.
got a lot of talent on staff.
We do. We are very lucky. Next, we have the Heart of the Turf, Racing's Black Pioneers. And that's Sunday, November 9th from 3 to 4 at Tate's Creek Branch. And that is the director of Keeneland Library talking about highlights of the lives and careers of African-American horsemen and women from the mid-1800s to today. So that'll be a really good talk. We also have at Marksbury Family Branch, Mary Knight, a local author, in conjunction with the Kentucky Center for Grieving Children and Families, is going to come talk about her novel, What the Seahorse Told Me. And that's recommended for ages 8 and up. And you'll be able to get a book there while supplies last. And that's November 12th from 5:30 to 6:30.
Cool.
And then we've got also at Marksbury Geology Rocks, which is Thursday, November 13th from 4 to 4:45. And for ages 5 to 11, they can come learn about rocks and minerals and hands-on activities. Very fun. And then we have a documentary screening by someone who actually does all of their editing here at the digital studio. His name is Eli Scar, and he's got a new documentary about Nora Williams from Maddoxtown. And so it's going to be a screening of his new film and then a discussion afterward.
I know he's been working on this for quite some time.
He has.
So I'm excited.
And that's Saturday, November 15th at 11 at Tate's Creek Branch.
Cool. That's exciting for Eli.
Yes. And then we have a U.S. citizenship class, Prepare for the Naturalization Test. That's at Marksbury Family Branch. It's Monday, November 17th at 5. And it's completely free. Registration is not required. So you can come in and help get some prep for your test.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then lastly, but certainly not the last thing happening in November, is Hamilton Karaoke for the 10th anniversary of the play, which it seems like it came out yesterday.
I cannot believe it's already been 10 years.
Yep.
Yes.
So that is Saturday, November 22nd from 1 to 4 at Central Library. If you want to sing, there is a special link in the event of where you can sign up for what song you want. Okay. If you want to just come and enjoy the other people singing, you can just come. It's in the Farish Theater at Central.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's shaping up to be a really cool month. And like I said, check out our events calendar on our website. It's lexpublib.org/events.
Perfect time. Perfect time for library programming as the weather gets cold.
Yes.
And there's not much that you can do outdoors.
Yes.
So stay indoors with us. Come join us for our programs.
All right. Well, this has been a great episode.
Yeah, it has been. I'm excited to see what else we have coming up next.
Yes.
Hopefully some more authors to talk to and more books and programs. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to Turning the Page. If you enjoyed listening, there will be more to come. So please give us a follow so that you don't miss the next episode.
We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.